You know you're people pleasing. You say yes when you mean no. You put everyone else first. You abandon your own needs to keep the peace. And you've tried to stop. You really have. But you can't. Here's why, and it's not what you think. I'm Patty Ferreira, and if you're a high-achieving woman who knows she's people-pleasing but can't seem to stop, this one's for you. Because the problem isn't willpower. It's not that you don't know better. The problem is deeper than that. And once you understand what's really happening, you can finally break free. Let me start by saying this. You're not here because you don't know you're people-pleasing. You know. You know you say yes when every cell in your body is screaming no. You know you take on too much. You overextend. You sacrifice your own needs. You know you avoid conflict. You stay quiet. You make yourself small. You already know all of this. So the question isn't, am I people-pleasing? The question is, why can't I stop? And here's what most people won't tell you. You can't stop people-pleasing because you're not addressing the real reason you're doing it in the first place. Most people think people-pleasing is about being too nice, too agreeable, too accommodating. But that's not it. People-pleasing isn't about being kind. It's about avoiding discomfort. Let me explain. When you think about saying no to someone else, what happens in your body? Do you feel tension, tightness in your chest, a knot in your stomach? Do you imagine their disappointment, their frustration, their rejection even? And that feeling, it's unbearable. So you say yes, not because you want to help, but because saying no feels worse. People-pleasing is not about other people. It's about your inability to tolerate the discomfort of disappointing others. That's the truth most people miss. You're not people-pleasing because you're too nice. You're people-pleasing because you're avoiding how you'll feel if you don't. Now let me tell you why this pattern exists. For most of us, especially high-achieving women, this started very early. Maybe you grew up in a home where conflict wasn't safe, where disappointing your parents meant withdrawal of love or withdrawal of approval, where keeping the peace was survival, or maybe you learned that your value came from being helpful, being needed, being indispensable, that your worth was tied to how much you could do for others. And so you developed a belief, an unconscious belief, that goes something similar to this. If I disappoint people, I will be rejected, and rejection is dangerous. Your nervous system learned and coded saying no equals threat. And so every time you think about setting a boundary or prioritizing yourself, your nervous system sounds the alarms. Danger, threat, unsafe. And you people please to turn off the alarm. This isn't a character flaw. It's a survival strategy that your nervous system built to keep you safe. But here's the problem. What kept you safe as a child is now keeping you stuck as an adult. So let's talk about what this is costing you. Because people-pleasing doesn't just make you tired, it erodes who you are. Here's what happens when you can't stop people-pleasing. First of all, you lose yourself. You've said yes so many times to what everyone else wants that you don't even know what you want anymore. Someone asks, where do you want to eat? And you freeze. Because you've been trained and you've told yourself to scan others first, to read the room and to adjust to that. And over time, you forget that you have preferences, desires, a voice. And that builds resentment. You say yes, you show up, you give, and then you feel angry, frustrated, and exhausted. Not at them, at yourself. Because you knew you didn't want to do it, but you did it anyway. And that resentment, it leaks out into passive aggressive comments. It leaks out into withdrawal and into bitterness. You attract the wrong people. That's a second thing. When you have no boundaries, you become a magnet for people who will take and take and take, because people pleasers are easy to exploit. And the more you give, the more they expect, until you're surrounded by people who don't actually value you. They value what you do for them. You can't build real intimacy. That's number 3. Real connection requires honesty, vulnerability, the willingness to disappoint. But if you're always performing, always adjusting to keep the peace, no one ever knows the real you. And that's a lonely place to be. Another one, you sacrifice your success. High achieving women often think people pleasing helps them succeed, but it doesn't. It keeps you overcommitted, spread too thin, saying yes to opportunities that don't deserve you. So you miss the right opportunities because you're too busy with the wrong ones. And you can't scale, you can't lead, and you can't build, because people pleasing keeps you small. Now here's why knowing all of this doesn't make it easier to stop. You can't just decide to stop people pleasing, because it's not a habit, it's a nervous system response. Let me give you an example. You're at work, your boss asks you to take on another project. You're already overwhelmed. You know you should say no, but the moment you think about saying no, your body reacts. Your heart rate increases, chest tightens, and your mind starts racing. What if they think I'm not a team player? What if this affects my performance review? What if they're disappointed in me? And in that moment, saying yes feels like the only way to make the discomfort stop. So you say yes, not because you chose to people please, but because your nervous system hijacked the decision. This is why willpower doesn't work. This is why knowing better doesn't help, because you're not operating from your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain that makes rational decisions. You're operating from your amygdala, the part of your brain that's screaming, danger, fix this now. And until you learn to regulate your nervous system in that moment, when that happens, you'll keep people pleasing, no matter how much you know you shouldn't. So how do you finally stop? Here's the real answer, and it's not what most people teach. You don't stop people pleasing by trying harder to say no. You stop people pleasing by learning to tolerate discomfort. Let me say this again. The key to breaking people pleasing is not better boundaries. It's discomfort tolerance. You have to be willing to feel the discomfort of disappointing someone, to sit with the tension of saying no. You have to be willing to let someone be upset with you and not fix it. That's the work. And here's how you start. Step 1, notice the sensation. Next time you're about to people please, pause. Feel what's happening in your body. Tightness maybe, anxiety, panic. Just notice it. Don't try to fix it. Just observe and notice it. Step 2, name it. Say to yourself, this is my nervous system responding to perceived threat, but I'm safe. Remind yourself, disappointing someone is not dangerous. Their upset is not your emergency. Step 3, stay with the discomfort. Don't rush to fix it. Don't immediately say yes. Just sit with it for 30 seconds, 1 minute, 5 minutes. Let the discomfort exist without needing to resolve it. Step 4, make a different choice. Once you've regulated your nervous system, you can make a conscious choice, not from fear, not from people pleasing, but from alignment. And sometimes that choice is still yes, but it's a yes from empowerment, not from fear. Step 5, expect discomfort. Here's the hardest part. When you start saying no, people will be disappointed. They will push back. They will be upset. And that's okay. Your job is not to prevent their discomfort. Your job is to tolerate yours. Let them be disappointed. Let them adjust. The people who truly care about you will respect your boundaries. The people who don't, they were benefiting from your lack of boundaries. And those relationships weren't serving you anyway. So here's the shift I want you to make. Stop trying to stop people pleasing by forcing yourself to say no. Start building your capacity to tolerate the discomfort that comes from saying no, because that's the real skill. And here's what happens when you do this. First, you reclaim yourself. You remember what you actually want, what you actually need, and you start making decisions from that place. Then you build real relationships, not based on performance, not based on what you can do for them, but based on who you are actually. You protect your energy. You stop giving to people who don't value you. You stop overcommitting, over-delivering, over-functioning, and you start showing up in ways that actually serve you. Also, you become a better leader, because people-pleasing doesn't make you likable. It makes you a doormat. True leadership requires boundaries, clarity, the willingness to disappoint. And when you stop people-pleasing, you step into that power. Now, if this is resonating with you, if you're ready to stop people-pleasing and start reclaiming your life, I want to invite you to 2 things. First, join the free 21-day Season of Self-Love Challenge. We work on building discomfort tolerance, setting boundaries, choosing yourself first. It's free, and I'll share the link in the description. Second, if you want ongoing support, if you're done people pleasing and you want a community of women who are doing this work together, join Awakened and Rising. It's my $30 per month membership for high achieving women who are done abandoning themselves. We practice saying no, we build nervous system regulation, we support each other through the discomfort, and we'll also add the link in the bio. But whether you join or not, I need you to hear this. You're not broken. You're not too nice. You're not weak. You're operating from a nervous system that learned to people please, to stay safe. And you can retrain it. You can learn to tolerate discomfort. You can stop people pleasing. Not by trying harder, but by doing the deeper work. And that work, it changes everything. If this helped you, hit subscribe. I post new videos every Thursday. And if you know another woman who can't stop people pleasing, send this to her. Because when one woman stops abandoning herself, she gives others permission to do the same. I'll see you next week on my next video.